How's it going, guys? Football Manager youthdevelopment.co.uk here. In this episode we're going to take a look at how you decide what style of football to play for a new team that you're managing. If this is the first time you have seen a video on the channel, please do remember to press the like button on the video. It really does help the channel. Press the subscribe button and of course leave your comments below. Of course, in the world of football, there are many different styles of playing the game of football. You could go for like a Tony Pulis style when he was at Stoke, a little bit of long ball football. You could go for a kind of Pep Guardiola style of really nice football, an Arsenal style of passing the ball around, Barcelona style of pressing the ball, etc. So how do you know what style of play that you want to play with when you take over a new team on Football Manager? So what I'm basically going to do in this episode, I'm going to be taking over a team. What I've done at the moment, I've just loaded in all of the teams from Serie A, obviously, which is the top league in the Italian leagues. And what I'm going to do is just take over a completely random team, and I'll just show you the process I would basically go through just to try and pick a style of play for that team. Okay then, so what I'll do, I'll just literally press the pick a team for me button and it's landed on Udinese. So what I'll do, I'll get this game all set up, we'll take a look at the Udinese squad and I'll just show you the process that I would go through for picking a style of play for this team. Okay then, so whenever you're looking to create a style of play for your team, obviously the best place where you're going to have a look is at your squad itself. So generally, it's quite a good idea to sort by ability and then just have a real quick look at the best roles of the players. So, for example, here that I can see my second best player in terms of ability is likely to be a defensive midfield player. You can have a real quick look at the attributes of this type of player and just kind of see, one, what his position is, and two, to just see what his type of strongest attributes are. You can do this with pretty much any player. So as you're going through here, so I can clearly see here that I've got a right fullback who has got lots of acceleration. He's got good bravery, fairly good tackling, but he's also quite good at crossing the ball, fairly high dribbling. But yeah, pace and acceleration are going to be his two main attributes that he's got. Of course, another good way to do it, guys, is if you click on the button up here, you can go down to attributes and just have a look for all the different physical, mental, technical attributes, etc. It's quite a good idea to have a look at the attacking attributes. Personally, my style of play that I like to play with my teams is to get the ball down the wings and to get some crosses in. So a place that I generally try and have a look at is just to try and find some players that are fairly decent at crossing. So this guy here, for example, he's 37 years old, but he's still got quite a lot of pace and acceleration. He's not going to be someone that's going to be making quite a lot of tackles, but in terms of his mental and technical attributes, you can see that he's got a hell of a lot of really decent attributes in that area. Potentially, I might not pick a player that is 37 years old. It might not be, the best move for me, but certainly it's worth having a look through the different type of players that you have got in your team, just to kind of build a picture of what you might be having a look at here. So one of the last players that I had a look at before this guy here was a right fullback, and I do know that the guy that I found who was a right fullback had a lot of pace. Having a look at this guy who is a left fullback, I can see that this guy's got a lot of pace and acceleration as well, but this guy has also got some really good crossing attributes. So that to me is, I'm kind of building a little bit of a picture in my head that we have got two very pacey fullbacks in the team at the moment. So this is just putting a little bit of a picture in my head of the type of tactic and style that I might look to use for this team. After having a general look at the players you've got in your team, having a look at all their attributes and things like that, I do believe it's a good idea to go to the squad depth screen and just have a look at the overview page. So obviously you might have, really good left backs, for example. Say this guy here is down as our best left back, but what you might see in some positions you're going to be a little bit weaker than others. So for example, if I do take a look at the right midfield position, I can see that actually as a right midfielder this guy is fairly strong. He's down as a winger, but then if I have a look at the person who's in second kind of place for this position, it's actually that fullback that we had a look at earlier. So I do know that to get the best out of this particular player, I'm going to be having to play him in a fullback position rather than as a winger, because that's not going to be the best place to play that guy. So the idea of what you want to take away from having a look at this screen is just to make sure when you're building a tactic that you've actually got some players that are going to be back up for the particular positions or roles that you might be introducing into your team. Okay, so here we pretty much have the finished article. I've gone through, selected all the players that I would like to pick for this particular team. So I just want to show you the tactics that I've basically come up for with this team here. So I mentioned it in the build-up, but we do have two fullbacks who have a lot of pace, some of them with fairly good crossing ability as well. So our left back has got a crossing ability of 15, and he's also got a work rate of 15 as well, which is very good. The other right back as well has got fairly good acceleration. His crossing ability is not fantastic, but in terms of tackling, he's really good in that kind of area. His positioning is 15. The reason I basically decided to pick this right back over the other guy who's from Switzerland, I think it was, is that I decided to go for an inside forward. Of course, what that means is that the inside forward is not really going to be doing too much in the way of tackling. So what I've decided to do is just go for a player who's a lot better at tackling, got really good positioning, good at anticipating this, sort of what's going to be happening on the pitch as well. In terms of our centre backs, what I've decided to do is have one of our centre backs who's on the stopper function, and that basically means that due to this guy's aggression and bravery of being 14, I've decided to let him kind of bomb forward ever so slightly, just so that he can try and break up any attacks that the opposition might be making. This other centre back here, he's got fairly good positioning at 14. He's got good work rate. He's fairly fast for a defender as well at 13. And yeah, good bravery, good anticipation, fairly good decision making as well. So what I've decided to do for that guy is to have him on the cover duty, just so that if this guy starts bombing forward, at least there's someone to kind of cover at the back here. Moving forward very slightly, what I wanted to do was just have a guy in the middle who was going to win the ball back fairly quickly, kind of turn over possession and just keep things sort of like nice and concise in the middle of the pitch. And I do think this guy does fit the bill absolutely perfectly. He's got really good aggression, good bravery, fantastic tackling at 17, good work rate at 18, good teamwork, good positioning, everything, natural fitness, stamina, pretty much got the lot. So this guy is absolutely fantastic just for holding, being an anchor man, like in the sort of middle of the park, just making sure everything ticks over nice. So he's basically not going to kind of be doing anything fancy at all. What he's basically going to be doing is just sitting in front of the defence. As it says there, he's not going to be venturing too far from his position, and he's either going to be looking to either close down the position or to support the more advanced role. Which is perfect for me and exactly what I want. On the left hand side, what we have got is a player called Marquinhos. I think this guy's fairly well known on Football Manager from what I remember. I'll just have a look at his history just to see if I can find out a little bit more about him. So yeah, it looks like he's fairly well known, maybe in sort of like Roma, things like that. I think I'm maybe getting a little bit confused with the guy that plays for Paris Saint-Germain, I think it is. But yeah, anyway, that's another story. So this guy on the left-hand side, he's got really good work rate at 17, good teamwork at 16, good technique, fairly good at crossing, he's got a fair amount of pace, things like that. I did notice this guy's flair attribute is only 12, but the fact that this guy can do a little bit of everything, he's can passable, tackle, he's not going to be scared to put his foot in or anything like that. I do think this guy is going to be fairly good just in a kind of wide midfield position, so he's going to be supporting our fullback here. But yeah, he's also going to be venturing forward a little bit more here. Potentially the sort of formation might be a little bit lopsided in terms of, this guy here might have to pull back into this position. But the reason I have got this guy on a centre midfield sort of role on the support duty is just so that he can kind of pull forward if he needs to into this position, or he can help out in defence here. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got this guy Lopez as an inside forward on the attack duty, so he's basically going to be coming in the middle here. And then the kind of piece of the puzzle that I like the most is this guy here called Bruno Fernandes. So this guy's actually really good. I can't say that I've ever heard of him before. He may be well known to some of you guys, but yeah, he is 20 years old and he's got work rate of 14. Fantastic technique at 15, really good flair, good vision at 15, passing's 15. You know, he's got all the kind of skills and everything like that to be able to thread a nice, decent path. Pass through, you know, he's got it all pretty much. And the fact that he's only 20 wouldn't really surprise me if this kid turns into a wonder kid pretty soon if you were to manage him. In terms of his preferred moves, what I would probably do is try to train him in the preferred moves of tries, killer balls often. So in terms of a striker, I've decided to go for this guy up top. Unfortunately, Udinese aren't exactly blessed with like some really quality strikers. I do think that's one thing that they are missing, unfortunately. But yeah, in terms of kind of work rate and things like that, in terms of things like that, he's got really good work rate, good stamina. His finishing's not too bad. What I did like about this guy that he's got the comes deep to get the ball, which I do think is quite a good quality to have. So what's basically going to be happening is likely to be fairly close to this guy here. Again, what I would probably do, although this guy's 32 years old, it would be pretty good if he had the preferred moves of plays 1-2s, simply because if he gets the ball when he's sort of coming around this position here, he can give it to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes can then play the ball up to this guy, and yeah, all's going to be pretty good. In terms of mentality, I would probably keep it as standard team shape, go for structured, and what I reckon would work pretty well with this team is to go for a higher tempo and to be closing down more and try and exploit the middle. So like I mentioned, you probably do want to make the most out of Bruno Fernandes. Obviously Lopez is going to be cutting in the middle here. So, you know, you're going to be fairly top heavy in the middle of the pitch, which is going to be fairly decent. Obviously this guy on the right hand side, he shouldn't really be venturing too far forward. I don't think that's going to be a very good thing to do. So yeah, kind of having a little bit of support, I do think is going to be quite good. What I want to do, guys, really quickly is to just fast forward just so that I can close this video out with some highlights of how this tactic works.